Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the newest edition of the Bronx Muchachos podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and tonight we got a great panel for you. We got none other than my main man, Dave. Dave, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, everybody?
And of course, we got none other than our brother from another mother, the Sandman himself, Scott Sanders. Scott, how's it going, bro?
What's up, fellas? Thank y'all for having me. Glad to be back on.
Of course, man, anytime. All right, if you guys don't know by now, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, watch us live, watch the reruns, do everything you got to do. If you're not watching us live right now, you're not watching us on YouTube, please go to all audio platforms: Apple, Spotify, Castbox, the whole gauntlet, Amazon. We're everywhere, man. Just go check us out with any of those spots. Let us know what you think. Give us some love along the way. So,
And sorry, one more thing to plug. So in the show notes, it will be in the show notes on YouTube as well as all the podcast platforms. There are a couple of our affiliate links. One is for our merch store. If you guys are feeling generous enough to go rock our merch, like Scott over there is doing, it helps us out tremendously. And we are also sponsored by the MLB Fan Shop. That link is also there too. So go get all your fresh gear for the 2026 season through us. And it helps us out tremendously. And it allows us to do more with the show, bigger and better stuff, and things of that nature. So we'd appreciate it.
100%. 100%. So speaking of helping hands, speaking of all these things that are going on, in case you're living under the rock right now, the MLBPA has a interim boss, Bruce Myers, if I'm not mistaken, is the right name. Scott, you being a former player, being a pitcher, being part of the union, can you take us through the steps of what happened, why Tony Clark stepped down, and what Bruce Myers will be bringing to the table that we don't know already?
Well, I think obviously everything hasn't come out on Tony. Obviously, I played with Tony in Detroit in 90, 90, part of 97 and part of 98. Obviously, I got traded from the Mariners to Detroit, played with him there. Then I went back, and then obviously they traded me back to San Diego in 98. But he was a teammate of mine. Good dude, big old dude, smart. He's always a smart dude, and kind of got down on his luck a little bit after baseball. Made a lot of money. From what I hear, I never really talked to him about it, but I heard he made a few bad investments and went to the union one time and said, "Hey, man, I need some help, and can you?" And they hired him. They hired him as just I think it was players operations guy or something like that just kind of be a liaisons for the players, and he worked his way up to the top. I mean, all the way to the top of the union, which I'll be honest, absolutely shocked me because when I played, we had Donald Fear was our leader, and I'll be honest, man, Donald Fear was he's the best, probably the best they've ever, one of the best they've ever had. And they went to Gene Orrs, and then they went to a few other guys, and it just kind of kept sliding, And I don't know if they felt like, hey, we need to put a player in there to try to unify players, but I'll be honest, I think it was a bad choice because I think the last couple of times the players have kind of got their clocks clean, not so bad that they had to take a salary cap, but they've given up a lot. I was in the strike back in '94. I was in the big leagues, and I remember it was like we had a meeting like around September 2nd and said, "Hey, we're gonna they're gonna lock us out, but don't worry, we'll be back in a week to 10 days. Just hang out in San Diego, don't go anywhere." And next thing you know, I remember the season was over and World Series playoffs were canceled. I was in my car, packed up, got rid of my condo, and packed my car up and drove back to Thibodaux, Louisiana, because I didn't know how long we were going to be out. So, but Tony. So from what I hear, the eight player panel, so basically every major league team has a player rep and an assistant player rep. Okay, they're the guys that go to meetings and then they deliver the news back to the team. But inside those guys, they have an eight-man panel of who's kind of like the top dogs of the two from each team. And I just think that they somehow, some way, gotten some wind of some improprieties going on, so they really pushed some type of investigation. And obviously, what everybody's been reading. There's been a few things that I guess you know from what the news is reporting that Tony got caught up in. Some improprieties, maybe some other things with the sister-in-law. And I'm only saying this from what I've heard, what I've read, on Twitter and all that stuff. No first-hand knowledge, but the bottom line is, it's they basically told him you need to resign, and he basically said, "Hey, I'm gonna get out of here," and he resigned. But I tell you what, it's probably a good time. Good that it happened now. Before the season started. Bruce Myers. I mean, I think he's good. I'll be honest. I think that the owners are going to have more firepower on their side of the table because, I was actually talking with my agent today, Paul Cohen. Me and him are still dear friends. I mean, he was my agent for 14 years of my career, and he's a lawyer by trade, and and we started talking about how back when we went on strike, I mean, it was a totally different ball game. The owner of our team was a guy named John Moores. I mean, he made his money through a software program, and he was worth about $300 million, which is back then, that's 1992, that's a lot of money. Now the Dodgers, the hedge fund people that own the Dodgers, I mean, they have probably 30 or 40 Wall Street lawyers just in-house working for them. So the firepower that the owners have, I'll be honest, they're going to be they're loaded for bear, and that's one thing that I think the union kind of has dropped the ball on. My opinion, I think they need to go out and probably hire a couple hot shot, Wall Street lawyers and get on their side of the table to go along with Bruce, because Bruce is he does have knowledge. He's been through a couple other CBAs. He is the chief negotiator. He is their labor lawyer. I mean, he's the guy. But at the same time, and sometimes it's going to take more than one or two guys, what I mean? Especially when you look across the table and they got 12 lawyers and you got two or three, obviously the owners have more money than the Players Association when you start doing the math with 32 owners, but yeah, it's an interesting day in baseball, but I'll be honest, probably for the players, this happening now is better than this coming out mid-season or towards the end of the season, because now they have the whole off season. Nothing's going to happen. When they say, "Hey, we're going to get together and negotiate and talk," they get around and they say 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and next thing you know, they get pissed off and they slam their briefcases or whatever they carry in, and they storm out the room and try to flex on the other side. But it's going to be interesting.
What do you think it's going to take from a player's concession standpoint to avoid a lockout in 2027?
Well, the only way it's going to be taking a salary cap, and I'll be honest, I would be 1,000,000% shocked if they go for a salary cap. I don't see it happening. At the end of the day, Major League Baseball is only Major League Baseball because of the guys in the players union. So at some point, these owners have an investment in all these teams. You know what I mean? I don't know. The Dodgers are worth probably now $5 billion. You know what I mean? Now, Cleveland Indians, I don't know what are they worth. I mean, $2.5 billion. You know what I mean? You go around, everybody's different. But at the end of the day, without the players in the system, they have their investment is worth not much. You know what I mean? I don't like when we went on strike, not a single person crossed the picket line. The NFL is where they're at today, with the owners having a hammer and always beating the guys over the head, because back in the day when they went on strike, I mean, there was big time quarterbacks that crossed the picket line and went play. But like I said, in '94, not a single person crossed the line. Obviously, they had scabs and they went to the minor leagues and they tried it for about 2 weeks, and it was the most embarrassing baseball in big league uniforms anybody ever seen. And they were like, okay, let's get the guys back. You know what I mean? And next, now all of a sudden the owners want to negotiate. But yeah. So I just, the owners are dead set. The bottom line is, so in 2025, every major league team got $200 million from rev share. So if you think about how many teams spent $200 million, yeah, and when I say 200 million, you got to remember, it's just not only salary. You do have,
Right.
You got all the other people who work in your organization, but there's a lot of owners making money off rev share and not paying it back to the players, and that's where the players are like, wait, okay, so you don't want the Dodgers to spend 350 million and the Mets You don't want the Yankees spending 275. You don't want Toronto spending 250, but you're not going to make Cleveland spend 150 million. So it's just honestly, the owners cannot police themselves, and they've never been able to, and they always want the players to police them. They want the players to police the game. And the player, a baseball player, if you get 4 years in the major leagues, you're above average in tenure. You know what I mean? Because not everybody plays 10, 12, 15 years and makes 150, $200 million. The average player plays about 2.5 years and 3 years tops, so he never even gets to arbitration. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's frustrating as an ex-player. And I get it from fans. Fans are like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's making $50 million. Well, guess what? If he doesn't make $50 million, it's going to go into the owner's pocket. Who are you going to see? You want to watch the owner in the box? You going to watch Shohei Ohtani hit 3 home runs and strike out 12 in the same game of a playoff game? So I don't know. It's really frustrating, and I tell you, it's not fun time to be a baseball player right now, because that looming over your head is. You got this year, and then next year there's going to be a lockout, and we're going to miss some baseball next year. They won't start. April 1st won't be baseball. I can promise you that.
Yeah, and just to bounce off of your point, like when fans say, "Oh, this guy's making 50 million, what's he complaining about?" They don't take into account you guys have multiple residences, regular bills that every day Joe's got to pay. You got to pay your agent. You got to pay income taxes in each state that you play in if they have an income tax. So that 50 million becomes 25 million relatively pretty damn quick.
Very quick.
If you don't have,
it goes less than that. Don't forget, it goes less than that because federal government comes in.
I'm
over 50% taking that off the lot.
So you're probably left with 10 to 15 million when it's all said and done in your pocket. I mean, it's not a pocket change, it's life changing money. But like, I really wish like fans would get like that through their head that there's other stuff they got to pay for.
100%. And the thing about it is, they have to pay taxes. These guys that own these teams, the billionaires, they all find loopholes in taxes and everything else. You know what I mean? It's like I said, but I tell you, I don't know. This is the one time though I do feel like I think for the first time the owners may stick together, because there's so many on the bottom looking up. And I do think there is a way to fix it. I don't think I'm 99.9% sure there will not be a hard cap. Hard cap meaning, you can't spend over this. Like if you can't, you have to, because at the end of the day, if you did something like that, obviously baseball would just end up being just like football. You know what I mean? So they for example, Shohei Ohtani or whoever it is owed 30 million. And they're going to find a way to say, we're just going to give you a $25 million signing bonus, and that reverts to only $5 million in payroll. So there's going to always be ways to circumvent a cap, and the rich are going to always spend, and the poor are going to always cry. It's human nature. It's the American way. So I do think that I think they may tighten the top. Put heavier penalties if you go over this number. But if the players, if they do that, I think the players are going to make them set a floor, because because to be honest, the middleman in baseball is getting squeezed out. You have your haves and your have-nots, and everybody in the middle, like, hey, you were a really good player for 4 years, but hey, here's $1 million. And if you make the team 1.5, okay. And whereas back in the day, that guy would make 4, 5, 6, 8, $10 million. Those guys are getting squeezed out.
Yeah.
I have a question for you about this. So going with the owners, because there's been reports that there's certain owners that are sitting there going, we'll lock them out we'll lock the players out for a year or for 2 years. One, do you think that's just posturing? And two, how detrimental will that be to the game, which is honestly losing fans along the way? They're losing revenue. Even though the game is in a really healthy spot, they are losing to football. They're losing to basketball. Soccer has now just overtaken them as the third most watched sport in North America. Like, what is this? Just the posturing? And if they are serious about this, why are they thinking that this will work?
They can't afford to lock them out for a year 2 years, no, there's no possible way. The game of baseball, I'm not going to say it would die, but when I tell you fans would rebel, find something else to do, and not come back, they would do it because, like I said, this even though these guys they have these teams, most of them don't have these teams to make money. They just have it as a flex. You know what I mean? They like to walk around and say, "Hey, I own the Dodgers. Hey, I own the Padres. Hey, I own whoever." You know what I mean? It's a flex, but it's still an investment. And like I said earlier, I think they could miss 2-3 months. Maybe worst case, play a back half of a season. And say, what, we're not playing 162 this year. We're gonna play 100, and then however you doing that 100, you're gonna go to the playoffs and you're gonna rock and roll from there. So I don't see anything. If they do lock him out, it could be April, it could be May. And then I'll be honest, they have to let them get back by June to go to camp for at least 2 to 3 weeks a month to start sometime around July 4th. Because what's July 4th without baseball? It'd be hypocrisy. It'd be bad, man. July 4th without Major League Baseball would not be a good day for America. You know what I mean? But I there's no way they can lock him out. If they lock him out for a whole year, the owners, as smart as they are business wise, it would be a very dumb move.
Like going
And
back
then
to
what will
what
the
you were
players do during this time frame too? On the flip side,
So
will they be? Will they just? They're not going to be sitting around. Will they? Will they wind up going to overseas to play?
Probably not that either. Well, I mean, they can't because I don't think they can because
no.
I mean, maybe they could. I mean, possibly, I guess, but I don't think they could because, like, they couldn't go to Japan because MLB would have your rights. I mean, you have to give MLB team has to give up your rights to go to Japan or Korea or any of those places. But you know,
Why not
the
the
one thing,
DR or Mexico or something
Same
like that,
thing
or the
applies.
Caribbean?
same thing though. You know what I mean, same thing. You as long as say the Padres have Tatis's rights. He can't. I mean, he can go play winter ball, but I don't think he can go play in a legit league who has ties to because then they said that league would get blackballed, from Major League Baseball. But so the players unions, they do have a kitty they put on the side, like so when I was on strike in nine and like I said 94. At the time, the minimum salary was only 102,000, 109,000. I'm sorry. So
Jeez.
what they did was, so we were out of work. Like I said, it was around September 4th, 5th. I don't know, night somewhere in that range, whatever. And then I remember right around early December, they sent everybody a check for 10 grand. Which to me was good money. You know what I mean? Because I was only making 109. So I mean, I'm like, hey, I'm getting 1/10 of my salary, so that works. Now the guys that are making 5, 6, 10 million, eight, but back then the highest guy was probably $8 million and maybe 10 million at the time, but it wasn't. I mean, so to him it was pocket change, but and they cut us. I want to say 3 checks that off season. So now the tricky thing is, like, if you send somebody 10 grand now, the minimum's what it is. I mean, almost 800 grand. So I mean, like that's 10,000 is not going to do anything for, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying it's pocket change, but it's still going to, it just doesn't, I mean, when somebody's making $50 million, hey, here's 10 grand. It's like, dude, I make that in 3 minutes. You know what I mean? I make that in 3 minutes.
It's not even cover their rent.
I'd make that put my uniform on and
Yeah,
walk into the dugout.
So I don't. I mean, so this time, but I mean, I don't. Would they send 50 grand a check? So, but they'll have money to send to guys during the strike, type of thing. And so, but yeah, but I did read that the owners, they all they got every club put away $75 million. They got like a $2 billion surplus between the teams to keep everything up and running in case there is a strike. So I guess they can still pay employees, all that good stuff. Obviously the minor leagues will keep going. Though that
But
won't
can they?
stop.
Because the minor leagues, but the union now runs the minor leagues too. So wouldn't both sides be on strike?
I see that. So that'd be a tricky one because this will be the first time that's ever come into fruition. But I would be shocked if the minor leagues didn't keep going. To be honest, because they are under the umbrella. But I would think the union would want the players to keep playing, and I would think that the organization would want those young kids to keep playing. So I don't know. That'll be interesting one to see. I haven't heard anybody talking about that either, to be honest. But I would think that the minor leagues.
Because when the union in its entirety, when they voted on Bruce Meyer as the interim president, there is 4 votes, and there are 4 votes for the minor leagues and minor league reps, and the minor league reps voted yes for him. So one would think, I guess, as long as you're on the 40-man roster or something.
No. If you're on the 40-man roster, you can't play. But I'm talking about minor leaguers who aren't on the roster.
Because I don't know what the union does for the minor league. I mean, besides getting better
minor leagues. The minor leagues, to my understanding, are governed by the MLBPA. It's a different players association that handles that end.
But I think that does they brought that underneath the umbrella. But I would think minor leagues still play. That'd be my guess. But like I said, I could be wrong on that one. But like I said, I do know that the Players Association has money put away. They've been planning for this for years. You know what I mean? They knew it was coming, and I think
they were planning from the last lockout.
Right, 100%. You know, but yeah. So, but the Players Association has money put away. But like I said, the owners they got a nice war chest, and obviously they have bigger pockets than the players. So, but it's gonna be interesting.
You know, going back to something you said earlier about them not having a hard cap and all that. And penalties. That's what we got in place right now. You know what I mean? There's a luxury tax. You get penalized if you go over it. There's 4 different levels. I would like to see a salary floor because I feel like, you know, a quarter of the owners in this league use these teams as a tax loss and a write-off, and they don't. I mean, when you got the Cleveland Guardians overall payroll at $75 million, there's a problem. They're not the only ones. You got the Pirates, you got the Diamondbacks, you got maybe not so much the Royals, but the White Sox, the A's, like they got to stop this. It's not good for baseball to have a quarter of the league with their fans going to spring training knowing their team doesn't have a chance in hell.
Yeah.
Well, the problem also comes down to with those people, like Scott said, is that they get the low revenue teams, 5 of them, the lowest of the low, get I think like $25 million.
Yes,
per team. And then all these teams also get money, however the split is, from the luxury tax. Everyone who goes over the luxury tax, they get all this little extra pieces along the way. And the fact that they get this free money and they don't put it back into the team, or they say they put it into the team, but they don't put it into the players. They put it into renovations, or they put it into the analytics teams. You know, Dave's favorite part of the game. Yeah. Or they put into better soda machines or whatever the case may be. Something stupid along those lines where they don't have to put it where it's on the field, but it does not translate to player salary. Like that I think something like that needs to be ironed out as well. That you turn around and say that all this revenue sharing has to be used for player.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of penalty implemented on these teams that are doing it. Take draft picks, not giving the money.
No, take the money away. Take the money away.
Take draft picks. Like, hit them where it hurts, because this is getting annoying to where they're pointing the fingers at the players, and it's like, no. Part of the problem is you guys that own these franchises that are just grifting the highest paying teams, and you're not doing anything with it, and your fans are going into spring training knowing you don't have a chance in hell. Like, it ain't right.
100%. And the thing about it is, every time there's been negotiations, the players have always asked the owners, say, would you open up your books and show, because they always say, we're losing this much money, we're losing this much, we're losing this. And Players Association always says, bring your books, show us your books. And you know how many times they've ever brought their books? 0. And they won't. You know what I mean? Because they're always crying, we're losing. I'm telling you right now, there's no possible way that many teams. The only way teams are losing is if they're spending $300 million, and I still don't think that they're losing. You know what I mean? Because there's other revenue between tickets and merchandise and all these other things on top. Just the rev sharing. There's so many things on top of the rev sharing. You know, and but I think. I mean, you asked me best case scenario. Like, you know what? I'm okay with taxing the rich. You want to spend extra, but I also think they should tax the poor who don't spend enough. You know, basically, if I'm an owner, if I'm the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays now in that mix. Phillies, Phillies playing in that same, they the Padres were until their owner passed away, and they're going back to not spending money again. But if I'm those teams, I'm saying like that's fine. But you're going to show me your books, and if you spend 150 million, that's what you get a rev share. You get exactly 150 million. If you spend 95 million, you don't get the 200. You get 95 million that you spent between your organization and all your team and all your salaries. You know what I mean? And you know what? Give that 110 million, give it away to charity. So if you don't want to spend it on your players who are making this game go, then we're going to give it away to charity. We're going to find some charities out there. You know what I mean? Think about that. You know how fast those guys will start spending that money then?
All right, so let's change gears for a second here, away from the owners. Let's talk about now the interim boss now, Bruce Meyer. He is a litigator at best, and he is a very hard-nosed litigator. He's announced that, telling all the players that there is going to be a lockout. It's a surefire thing. So, what are some of the things that he can do, or some of his right hand man or right hand men, women, whatever you want to say, so we can be politically correct. But his war chest, his inner circle. What are the things that him and his inner circle can do to rally the troops and keep the players unified against what is coming at them? And how can he give, in essence, like counterpunches? What are some of the major counterpunches besides opening the books, besides the salary floor? Because one of the other things the owners are going to push for isn't just the salary cap. It's international draft. That's another big thing as well. So they're gonna split the players, not just the haves and have-nots, but now you're going the foreign players versus the American players. So how can they as a unit keep everybody together?
So the one thing that I know from now this was a long time ago when I played, but when I tell you we had the strongest union in the country, we had the strongest union in the country. I still think that the Players Association is gonna be very, very tight knit. And I'll be honest, the way it kind of works, like I told you earlier, those two guys, your player rep and your assistant player rep, they're pretty much, you get in a room and they talk about everything. But basically, if you're not one of those two guys, they do. Let me back up too. They have these Zoom calls all the time, right? So literally, they'll put out, like this off season, they had 2 or 3. I want to say Cameron got on, and literally somebody get up there. They'll talk about the state of the union, how things going, what we got, and talk about all the bullet points. You know what I mean? So you do get some interactions, but the deep business, interaction is really only heard by 2 guys from each team. They take the information and then they go back and then they set up a Zoom call within their team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so they'll get on there and say, "Hey, here's the bullet points. We talked about this. We talked about this. Guys, all we got to do is we got to stick together. At the end of the day, we have to. If we stick together, we're going to come out okay in this. But as soon as we break, what I mean, like I'm telling you, you let one guy break, say I'm going to spring training, and he shows up, then that's the chink. Then you just gave the owner some line. You know what I mean? And but so, like I said, man, I don't know. Bruce. I mean, Bruce is in a tough spot because I think for the first time, enough owners, because everything has by them, it's got to be a 3/4 vote. That's the other thing that really sucks about baseball negotiations, right? Because it's not a 50, it's not a 51-49 vote. So it's 3/4 has the vote, for stuff for them to pass things, So, and it's always that number is always, somebody from the bottom always has the crack and go to the top usually. Because I'll be honest, most of just like in baseball, the power teams, they play in those rooms as well. The Dodgers, the Yankees, all those teams I named earlier, those guys, they carry the most weight in those meetings, even though they spend the most. But at the end of the day, Tell me who owns the Oakland A's. Do you know? I sure don't know. You know what I mean? But you know who owns the Yankees.
Jeff Fisher owns
Exactly,
the A's.
right? Yeah, but I'm saying, if you ask normal Joe out there on the streets who owns the Yankees, oh, everybody knows the Steinbrenners own the Yankees, right? Who knows who owns the Cleveland Guardians? Who owns the Minnesota Twins? You start asking people, but they know who owns the big players. So those guys have the heavy hand in their meeting as well. But like I said, I'll be honest, Bruce has got to come up with stuff. So back to the draft. They want an international draft. I'll be honest, I don't know why the Players Association wouldn't give that up to get some type of recession back, right? Because that doesn't really affect. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it is what it is. I mean, there's an NBA draft that's international. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And guess what?
but if you, I will. The pushback will always be look at Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico was then was it part of the international? Was not part of a draft when and then became a draft, and the amount of Puerto Rican players that are now matriculating through MLB has drastically dropped.
Oh, 100%. It's like you would think back in the day, like when I played. Like you look at all the Puerto Ricans, and now all of a sudden they got like 5 Puerto Rican kids to get drafted in the whole draft. You know what I mean? So it's just so many different things. But I'm gonna tell you the other thing that they're talking about doing. They're also talking about making the draft 10 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna take away another A-ball team, so they're gonna have complex. They have a complex
A,
team.
B, A, double A, triple A.
A, double A, triple A, right? So that's another 40 guys gone. They're gonna possibly go to no high school. They're gonna make high school guys go to college 1 year like the NBA does. That's gonna I think that's gonna happen too. To be honest, I think all those things are that's all gonna come to fruition. And I'll be honest, if I'm the union, you have to bend on something, right? The players union cannot get everything they want. You have to give to get, right? So if the players want the salary floor, they got to give something up to get the salary floor. Just like the owners, if the owners want to get a salary cap, they have to give something up to the players and say, listen, we're going to do this cap, but with that in turn, this is what we're going to give you in return. And then that's when you have to realize, is it worth it? Like, no. And it's just literally, it's a bargaining chip. And they go back and forth and go back and forth. And sometimes these guys get in a room for 2-3 hours and absolutely get nothing accomplished. They storm out the room and don't talk for a week. And I'm always sitting back like, what are we doing, people? Just get in the door, lock the door, and don't come out until you have a dang agreement on something. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, baseball, is like you said earlier. Last year, the regular season was up 18% of people watching it. The playoffs were up 28% from years prior, So that means people are getting interested. But guess what? You go on strike, you can knock those numbers. They're going to go so far backwards. And like people get pissed all the time about steroids, right? About Barry Bonds and allegedly, and Roger Clemens allegedly, and A-Rod, all these people. But after we went on strike, steroids brought baseball back to everybody's heart. You know what I mean? And I tell them all the time, like, everybody's complaining about steroids, but that's what brought the game of baseball. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, the home run, that's what got baseball. All of a sudden, everybody loved baseball again because they hated us. We go place and they'd boo us. You know what I mean? But
don't forget all the steroid talk. All the owners were the ones who made out like bandits on that because of all the money that those players generated for them.
Yeah, because
the double-edged sword that they talk about is ridiculous when it comes to it.
100%. And at the end of the day, like, our product was down. Like, it was down, and it was sour. So many people had a sour taste in their mouth because of the strike and because of the lockout and all that stuff. You mean? And then all of a sudden, everybody forgot about it because we had a guy hitting 62 home runs, a guy hitting 70-some home runs. Now all of a sudden, baseball was back again. And it's every time it takes something like that. But this time, like, what's going to come of it? I don't know. You lock them out, you miss a half a season. Half the people might come back, half the people might not. But at the end of the day, the owners have to be smart enough to know by not playing baseball, it hurts their investment. And their investment, they may never recoup what they lose in their investment. That's 100%.
Does Rob Manfred have anything to lose in this? Because he's on his last. I think that he said that this is his last contract.
Yeah, 2029, he's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and he's an anti-union lawyer. So, will this be like his not just swan song, but to write his legacy on as a commissioner.
100%. I mean, this is it because he knows. Take the example if so we in this, it's 2026, 2027. So they're gonna do the next agreement, and that's the other thing too. I'm always like, why don't y'all do like a 10-year agreement? So for 10 years, we could have peace in baseball. But no, they do these 3, 4, 5-year deals. And so every 4 to 5, because in 5 years, whatever the owners are getting, they're going to be complaining and bitching and griping and moaning and complaining, about something, because I'll be honest, the players aren't really asking for nothing. Last time Tony Clark's big deal was he was asking for a second chef in the clubhouse. Like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, really? It costs like 60 grand, maybe 100 grand. I mean, every owner wipes his what with that, you know what I mean? But that was like his big deal. He's like, well, I'm gonna get you guys. I know what y'all want. Y'all need a second chef in the clubhouse and blah blah blah. Like, so
well, the biggest issue is like how the minor league players were being treated. That was the biggest talking point in this last bargaining agreement was the fact that these guys were getting paid $35,000 a year, having to pay for their own apartment and whatever, and they were only getting they were getting paid pennies.
No, they were making, some of them were making $7,200 a year, and having to pay for their own equipment. Their own apartment, and they were getting about $18 a day meal money. So that part, I'll be honest, that was probably the best thing in my opinion that came out of one of the last bargaining agreements was they finally said, hey, because they did the math one time. Those guys were making like $1.78 an hour. You know what I mean? That's what they were like. They were like, this is because people they were going to sue them. They were like, listen, I'm not even making minimum wage, because if you think about it, you get to the park at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock for a 6, 7 o'clock game. You ain't leaving till midnight. You know what I mean? So you're working a 10-hour day. 10-hour day, and they were paying A-ball guys $1,000 a month. And remember, that's only 5 months. They were paying $1,000, $1,200. AAA guys were making $1,800 to $2,000 a month. That was 6 months, so they were making 12 grand. So do the math. It's just, but that part did come out good. But no, Manfred that's why I think this time. I think Manfred is going to be like, because if he gets that salary cap implemented on his last agreement, that'll go down in history. He'll be one of the most successful, commissioners ever.
Yeah. All right, Dave. What else you got there, bud?
Well, thinking about the international drafts, right? If that's the thing that they got to, concede on. And then granted, I know like Latin America and the Caribbean is like the lifeblood of baseball in the league, but not every team plays in that market. So if they want an international draft, if that's what's going to get the thing across the finish line, is it really a bad thing?
Well, nowadays every team plays in that international market, but like I said, there has to, if in order to implement that, number one, there's the amount of problems that you have with implementing it is far-reaching, because there are agreements outwards of 3-4 years from now that teams already have agreements with kids, and be honest, they are kids.
Yeah, but 11 years old to be exact in one case.
Well, 10 years old in one case.
Whatever.
If you read one of the things, but what I'm saying is that you also have a entire economy based on these systems in the Dominican Republic, in Venezuela, in Mexico to a certain extent as well. There is industries built around this, so you're going to then uproot all this industry. You're going to uproot all this entire economy, and you're going to see that a lot of things in those countries start plummeting. And like I said, the best way you look at this is look at Puerto Rico and look exactly what Major League Baseball did to the Puerto Rican players when they said, no, you're going to be part of the draft because you're a Commonwealth of the United States. That changed the game for them. And look how many standout Puerto Rican players we have in baseball nowadays. Lindor, Correa, Baez, and Baez not really on that top end anymore, but who else do you have? Who else do you have out there?
Yeah, so what I think would happen with this international draft, this is just one man's opinion. Obviously, I think they would still keep, all the facilities, in these countries, because it would be you'd have to be 18 years old, right? Legitimately 18 years old to get drafted, like it is now.
No,
Now,
they draft them. So to be drafted, so to be signed, you have to be. It used to be before COVID. It was you had to be 16 years old. So on when it was
but
July
that's
2nd, it was 16. And now that they pushed it to January 15th, most of these kids are now like 17 years old.
no. I'm talking about if we go to international draft.
No, I get you. I'm just saying how it is
Yeah.
right now. So
Yeah, no. Yeah, right now you have to be 16 to sign an international free agent, right? But I'm saying if they go to international draft, I think what would happen was, you have to be 18 or seven, like graduating from high school, 17 going on 18, basically. But I think MLB would have to put a pool of money together, and they would have to keep these development in these countries, right? Because if these development places go away, these ball players aren't going to keep coming to the states, because they're not going to have the resources. They're not going to have the money to get the training and everything that they need. So I think MLB is going to have to pool money together from all the teams, and keep all these facilities afloat in all these other countries. Now they would have to stay in Dominican and wherever, Mexico and Venezuela, two more years. A lot of them, which a lot of them still stay. They don't come over here until they're 18 anyway. And some of them don't get signed till they're 18. But that would be my guess. They would have to keep those facilities open, and they would have to, if it's going to be an international draft, MLB would have to cover that money between all the teams, because obviously everybody has a shot. Because now, the Yankees, they have this kid who they brought him in at 8 years old, and he's been with them for 6 years, and now guess what? He's going to sign with the Yankees. Well, this offseason is like one of the first off seasons. I'm sure you guys have noticed. There's a lot of guys flipping in the international market, which never really happened much. When those guys normally said, "Hey, I'm going to sign with the Yankees when I'm 16," I mean, like 99.9% of them seem like they always did. This year, I mean, you guys know better than me, but there's been 3 or 4 or 5 kind of pretty good big names. Supposedly, that one, I think the one kid flipped to the Yankees, right? From the Pirates, the catcher. Is that right?
The Yankees got one of the catchers flipped from the Pirates to the Yankees. The Yankees lost like the number two kid this past year, but a lot of the reason why the Yankees lost some people was because of they got rid of their international scouting director in Danny Rowan. The interim guy kind of began to cut back on deals with some of the kids, not from this year, but starting in the next cycle,
saying, like, "Hey, can you take less money?"
No, they started nitpicking, like, "Oh, your development hasn't gone the way it should have gone. We can't give you the $4.3 million that we originally agreed to. You need to take less money." And they're like, "Now we're just going to go shopping around instead, and get an X amount of money instead." So they might not get what the Yankees were originally offering, but they were getting more what the new offer was going to be.
Gotcha. And in Juan Yasijin's case, he took less money to sign with the Mets.
Well, the Yankees, yeah. I mean, but that was also a lot.
The Yankees offered him, 4.1, and he took 3.8, 3.5 to sign with the Mets.
I think the Yankees were originally at 3.5. I think they were going to go up to a certain amount, but no one could sign off on it. And that in of itself, that the fact that nobody could sign off on it, when you have guys like Omar Minaya sitting in the room telling him you're our number one priority, like we're going to get the deal done, and Cashman, Hal, Randy Levine can't turn around and sign off on this stuff. That's just a mockery in of itself that they did. But there's still other kids out there that they're looking at getting. So we'll see how it turns out. I mean, getting a catcher is always a thing, because the Yankees have been really good at developing catchers. So.
Yeah, but like I said, the draft part is going to be interesting, and I think the players will bend on that draft stuff this time to get some other concessions back. But like I said, will the union look to piss off at least 35% of their constituents? Because that's what the Latin players make up, or 35 to 40% of the MLB. So I would say yes. It's a big number. It is a big number, but I'd say yes. It's still a minority. It's still the smallest besides African Americans is the smallest. You know what I mean? But then you got Latins, and then and I'm not. I don't. The way I look at it, because I really think, like I said, I don't know if it's gonna be this one, but there's a pretty good chance if they go to 10 rounds, MLB, they can't keep taking high school kids without a low A ball team. You know what I mean? Because if you take a high school kid without a low A ball team, he has to stay at the complex for 3 years basically till he turns 21 years old. So why does that make sense? So if you're gonna tell the kids from America, like, bro, you got to go to college 1 year for sure. But oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna sign these Latin kids at 16 years old. Doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we gotta figure apples. We gotta start comparing apples and oranges, because at the end of the day, when they cut one A ball team, you're not talking about just 24 guys. You're talking about 40 guys is what's going to get cut out of a system.
Times
Because
30.
Yeah.
right. So start doing the math. So that means they gotta, you know what I mean, more independent. That means they gotta put like 4 more independent leagues somewhere for all those guys to go play somewhere, because there's still guys in that's going to get cut that would make the big leagues at some point possibly. So I don't know. I just my gut feel is that international, it might just happen, and it because they're trying to cut out by then. And I'll be honest, I don't know how much a dang minor league team costs for them for on an organization. I don't think it can be. I mean, I guess it's a decent amount, but I don't think an A ball team is that expensive when you're talking about development, because I'll be honest, a lot of the things the owners do does not make a lot of sense to me as an ex major league player. Because at the end of the day, if I got 35 to 40 more kids that have a chance to one day help me, then I'm just saying, nope, you know what? You're costing me $2.5 million. God,
Well,
that's a
look,
freaking
look what the A's did.
that's a
Look what they
backup
did.
catcher.
Yeah. Well, look what they did before. They got rid of all the short seasons. They got rid of the rookie ball seasons. They got rid of like different levels that all the high school kids were moving in, playing in. And
well, the
like, getting
short
regular reps.
where all the draftees would go for the rest of the year until the next season. And they already gutted minor league baseball once back in 2012, and it didn't really. I mean, they still had an effect. Aaron Judge probably would have been here later than what he was. I mean, in that aspect, it's been good, but at the same time, like, some of these kids do need a little bit more seasoning, and some of these guys I think do get rushed through the system. Anthony Volpe's one of them.
Yeah. And I heard what the owners' plans down the line is. They want to get rid of all A ball, go from complex to AA to AAA to big leagues. Now that's probably not until the next one. You know what I mean? 5, 6, 8, 10 years down the road, whatever it is. But once again, it's like I was talking to some buddies of mine who played. And I was like, I said, so when you play complex ball, which when I say that, it's the guys that stay back and play at spring training sites, right?
Yeah.
For the listeners that don't know what I'm talking about, but like you literally play at 10 o'clock in the morning, because in Florida it gets really hot. In Arizona it gets really hot in the afternoons, right? So you either play at 10 in the morning or you play like 8 o'clock at night, one or the other, right? You don't play in the middle of the day. And literally there'll be 5 people in the stands watching you. And if there's more people in the stands watching you, it's because the dugouts are so small and they put some of the players in the stands until they need them to come into the dugout. You know what I mean? So I don't care who you are and how good of a talent you are, doing well or doing bad in front of 5, 10, 12 people, it's like until the real lights turn on and there's really people in the stands, that's when the game speeds up. You know what I mean? So all these things that these owners are trying to implement, it just like I said, as ex-player, just baffles my mind, because there's just not, big leaguers don't grow on trees, right? Big league talent grows on trees, but you have to take that talent and you have to mold it. You have to tweak it. You have to put them in good situations. You got to put them in bad situations. You got to, what I mean, there's so many things to go. What I mean, there's so many guys that are talented, but that doesn't mean they're gonna ever play in the big leagues, because when the lights come on, it's a totally different game. When I tell you, I mean, it's a roller coaster in your head. And the guys that can slow the roller coaster down, they make it to the big leagues. The guys that can't slow the roller coaster down, they end up going somewhere else, and they have to find another job.
Yeah. And the jump from the complex league to double A is night and day. Like, that is just insane to me, just thinking about the talent differential.
Yeah, but at this point, if you're talking about getting rid of both low A and high A, I mean, then it's going to be watered down. And I mean,
it's going to go the other way. You're going to have all these older guys playing against these teenagers,
or they're getting rid of the older guys. Or what I'm saying is that they might turn around and get rid of like the organizational depth kind of guys, or the vet, like the quad A guys. Those guys will be the first to go because they're going to be expensive. Then you got all these guys that are kind of hanging on for their last ride. Like, maybe I'm gonna catch on with this team. Like, organizations might not look at them anymore. Like, hey, you know what? Why am I gonna spend money on this guy when I got a youth? When I'm gonna push for the youth instead, that could be there for me. Maybe he might not be the best guy this year, but 3 years down the line, he's gonna be better than spending money on this guy right here.
They should just develop a quad A league.
Well, they're trying to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of minor league things. They're going to turn it. Yeah, you're asking to add more.
Joke, guys, relax. But what a perfect segue into our next topic. Now we spent 52 minutes talking about all of this. Word on the street is Jason Dominguez is going to be going back to AAA at the beginning of the season. I think it's trash. I think it's ridiculous. We spoke about it last night when we were recording the State of the Franchise episode with Jeremy last night. And I'm kind of upset by this because he was their top prospect coming out of the Dominican Republic. And you would have thought this man walked on water, the way they would talk about him, comes up, first MLB game, smokes a home run off Justin Verlander. We think life is great. Well, what do the Yankees do in their infinite wisdom? They stick him back out in center field after he said he felt like something popped in his elbow and blows his elbow out, throwing a ball from center field to second base. And needed Tommy John surgery, was out. Then he ended up being a platoon player this year after moving him from center to left field for whatever reason. The good idea theory slapped somebody up the head and they thought, hey, this is a great idea. No, it's not. It is garbage. And
Well, the reason why they put him in left field wasn't because of this year. It was because the year because in their infinite wisdom and GM Judge needed to have Alex Verdugo on the team. Alex Verdugo couldn't do a damn thing during the 2024 season, but they needed to play him.
Hit water if he fell off the boat.
Exactly. But when they finally came to the realization that Alex Verdugo could not do anything, they decided we're not going to put Judge in left field. We're not going to move Soto to left field. We're going to put Jason Dominguez over there and in a left field that is horrific for a normal player to play that, let alone a rookie whose route running has not been the most, the best that you can have. And he all of a sudden had deficiencies. And then the Yankees really soured. The Yankees finally figured a way to sour on him fast. Like, oh, look, he can't play defense. We're just going to keep sticking him in left field where he's not doing. And we're going to sign all these guys, and we're going to put them in center field where he can play better, and all these other guys can play this position in left field. But we're not going to put the youth, the best of our prospects, the best out of Anthony Volpe and Austin Wells, the best of the three of them. Those two guys can stay in those positions that they have been drafted at, developed at, just like Jason Dominguez was drafted or signed and developed as a center fielder. The rest of those guys can stay where they are because we want to have those guys where they want. This kid needs to move around because we think better of that. And you're right, Dave. I'm 100% right with you that they're absolute blooming idiots for putting him in left field. Put him back in center field. Let him play. Keep Cody Bellinger in left field. Kick Trent Grisham to the curb by June 15th. And yeah, it is what it is. But on the flip side of the coin, having him get everyday reps is better than him sitting around twiddling his thumbs in the major leagues.
I get that. It's just I feel bad for the kid. He didn't even do anything wrong.
No, I wish and you know what? And you know the screwy thing of this whole thing is he had a good first half of the season. He had a good first half of the season. It seems like the Yankees were looking for any excuse to make sure that he didn't succeed. Whereas the Yankees look for every excuse to help and make Anthony Volpe succeed. Because if you think about this, Yankees were last season. What was one of the major things that they needed? They needed a leadoff batter, right? He came in for like a week or 5 days as a leadoff hitter and was killing it. The minute he was killing it, they turned on, no, we don't need this anymore. Pulled him out, and that was the end of it.
It's almost like they were like saying, "Oh, you didn't understand the assignment. You were supposed to suck. Now sit down."
Well, that's why. Why do you think they put him in for the last Anthony Volpe's last at bat in the playoffs? No, you're the one who's supposed to get the booze, not the golden boy, not the kid who strikes out 75% of the time in the postseason right now, not the kid that took the picture with Derek Jeter and we're building a marketing campaign around him. No, you're the one, Mr. Switch Hitter, Mr. from the Dominican Republic. You're the one who's supposed to get the booze. Here, you come in after not playing for a month. You can go get yourself all the booze now. We're gonna leave Golden Boy over there. Make sure that he's all comforted, wrapped in a warm blanket. Aaron Boone could sing him lullabies. Put a passy in his mouth. Randy Levine will come back there, pat him on the back, and comb his head and brush his hair for him and all that stuff. Jason, you go out there, take the heat. Oh, what does he do? Goes smokes a double. It basically was at second base, giving the entire organization middle fingers is what he should have been doing.
Yeah, it's almost like you think back, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I mean, he was going to be the next Juan Soto. I mean, like he was the golden boy of all of baseball, and now it's like, who is he? Like it's kind of crazy how they just, and like I said, I don't think they did it on purpose, but I just don't know how it played out the way it played out, because he's never really gotten a shot to even, because if you think back, well, what he was 19 in AAA, I think he was. What did he get called up? Did he get called up at 20 or 19?
He was 20 when he made his debut.
That's what I thought. So I mean, and he was like, he was the next big ticket in New York. And he did it. He had a little bad luck here and there was some stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like those guys, as soon as they get healthy, they go right back into every other organization. They go right back into the fire and like, here you go, bud. I know you got hurt, but you getting your job back because you only lost it because you're hurt. And it's like, it's just, so I don't know what they see, or if they look like, after some injuries or something, like, Jesus Christ, this kid's really going backwards. But it's like, they really haven't given him a shot. And I mean, hey, listen, Trent Grisham did step up, and he you guys know he carried you guys for a good bit of the season. Yeah. And so I think that was part of, like, God damn the luck. I mean, that's kind of sometimes, they say bad luck's better than no luck, but not for JDom. I mean, his bad luck has not been good for him. But I think at some point he's got you got to play him or you got to trade him. Like, at the end of the day, because every time they keep sending him back to AAA, his value gets less and less and less and less and less. You know what I mean? So it was sky high. Just think what they could have got for him when he was 19, 20 years old. I mean, you could have got the world for him. I mean, right now,
there were teams asking for him too.
I know.
He was big time players.
They were dangling him for Juan Soto back then. Right. Like, I think the rumor was him and Volpe were part of what the Yankees were going to offer. There was 5 dudes. They said, take your pick, whatever you wanted. We'll give you Volpe. We're going to give you JDom to Nationals for Juan Soto. And what the hell? What was it? What's his Mike Rizzo? Mike Rizzo was the former GM. Turned around, laughed at Brian Cashman, saying Anthony Volpe is not a shortstop. So funny enough, what you were saying, Scott, that guys like Jason, when they get injured, they get their spot back. That's what the Yankees are doing with Anthony Volpe. Like, when he comes back, Jose Caballero, you could be batting 430 tanks, 50 stolen bases in 6 weeks. Guess what? You ain't starting anymore after this. You got to earn your spot. The golden boy got to get his reps now.
Well, so if hitting 30 tanks, stealing 40 bags, and hitting over 300 isn't doing your part, I don't know what the hell is.
Oh, the Yankees already, like, Joel Sherman was the one who turned around and said that there's a chance, an outside chance, that if Jose Caballero is killing it, just kind of like in the weird, the crazy thing I was just saying, but was killing it, then they send Anthony Volpe back to AAA.
I don't know if he's got options left, man. He's been in the league 3 years.
Yeah, but they've never used any of his options.
Yeah, but I thought once you have X amount of years in the league, your minor league options go away.
Yeah, once you get 3, I'm pretty sure it's once you get 3 years in, your options are burnt. Like Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 3 years as well.
Because in your rookie year, you
Mhm.
lose your rookie of the year eligibility after 150 at bats.
Yeah.
So
no, you lose your rookie status after not rookie of the year
which
status,
makes you ineligible for rookie of the year.
No,
because if you're not a rookie, how the hell are you eligible for ROI?
Then tell me how everybody who does that gets ROI or in a sense pitching. You can, if you start with the team, you stay the whole year with the team. You're going to surpass 150.
Right. If they don't go, what I'm saying is once you go past that threshold, you are the following year, you're not eligible to be voted on for rookie of the year is what I'm saying.
Right. No, that makes more sense. The way you were saying it didn't make sense.
Sorry. It's been a long day.
I get you. No, but you're right about that. But what I'm saying is that I think that Scott might know this better, and sure enough, Cam will know this a hell of a lot better than the rest of us. But I think that they are saying there's maybe you lose an option here or there, but you don't lose all your options until I think maybe with however the new CBAs were done. So they were limiting, but they didn't get rid of everything. I think that there's an option. I think there's an option available, or at least one option available.
So I just looked it up. Minor league options typically run out after 3 years, after 3 seasons, in which a player on the 40-man roster spends at least 90 days in the minors, not necessarily 3 calendar years. Once these 3 option years are exhausted, a player must clear waivers to be sent down.
Well, maybe because it's an injury, because he's recovering from an injury, there's something different from it.
I don't know. According to that, his options are burnt.
Congratulations! Another wonderful thing the Yankees have done, keeping an inferior player up there.
Yeah, I would think there's options out too.
Same thing with Oswaldo. He doesn't have any minor league options left. This is going to be his 4th season.
Well, like I said, that was a report was from Joel Sherman that there's a outside chance that they were looking to put him back send Volpe to the minor leagues.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe something did change with the last CBA, but according to that, his options are burnt.
Burnt just like he is as a player. Burnt.
Okay.
But speaking of smoke and fire.
There we go. Perfect segue. I'm proud.
Perfect segue. Yeah, I this ain't my first rodeo.
Some days, you never know.
That's the pot calling kettle black.
But hey, back to Volpe real quick though. The thing about it is they could option him, and then he could go through waivers. Obviously, if he goes through waivers, then if he
no one's gonna claim his ass.
Then he can go down.
Dude, you don't. Somebody might.
Listen, I help pack the bags. Send him on his way. Just go for it. Cool.
I said the same thing about Aroldis Chapman after the 2022 ALCS. I was like, let's get this man an Uber right now and drive his ass to the airport. Get him out of here.
There's Major League Baseball is littered with roads are littered with people like that. But speaking of Chapman being a hard throwing player, the Yankees do have many hard throwing, but 2 of them are on the precipice of being major league pitchers. The 2 major guys, one of them is pitching tomorrow, the other one's pitching Saturday. We were talking about this last night. Obviously, tomorrow Elmer Rodriguez is starting for tomorrow for the Yankees in their first spring training game.
What time's the game at?
I think one something.
Okay.
And then Saturday, you have Carlos LaGrange. He is pitching for the Yankees. Both of them are high octane arms. Both of them are highly touted. Both of them are the 2 best pitching prospects in the Yankee system as we currently speak. LaGrange, Sandman, you might if you haven't seen or heard what he was doing so far in spring training, already ripping it up to 103 miles an hour.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw his 102 at one point. So he obviously got to 103, got even better.
So I mean, this early on, if you're talking going 103, I was listening. I was listening to Foul Territory talking AJ Przinsky, and a lot of guys were talking and Buck Showalter especially is going, what do you mean you're turning around and tearing this thing up? And then he's not talking about LaGrange, but in totality of why are you guys throwing this hard this early? So
because they're young and they can, and that's what worries me. I worry about these two guys and the health of their elbows and how long it's going to hold up and how long it's going to take for one or both of them to blow their arms out and need Tommy John surgery. These guys need to take it down a notch. I agree with Scott.
Yeah, let me tell you, sometimes I mean, they're both young. They're both in major league camp. Probably, I'm not saying it's. I don't know if it's their first time, or the second time.
It is. It's their first time for both of them.
So if it's their first time, when I tell you the juices that you get, and it's just, and you have guys who are established. They come in and they're throwing bullpens 85, 87, touching 90, and they sit 95, 98. Mm-hmm. But when you go in there, trust me, I've been in that spot. You know what I mean? And it's just you get a juice. Like basically, it's like the season.
I got to prove myself.
I'm all amped up. I want to. I'm all amped up right now.
Wait, you got to prove yourself, because if you go out and just kind of do so, you're going back to AAA no matter what. You know what I mean? And hey, they might end up going back to AAA no matter what anyway, right? But they're out there saying, like, listen, they're young, they're hungry. They're fired up, you know what I mean? They got juices flowing that they never probably had juices flowing like that before. And I'll be honest, it's hard. It's hard to try to dial it down to 95. You know what I mean? And to be honest, it's not easy to do. You try to dial it down too low, next thing you know, you're walking the world, and then guess what? Next thing you know, like, got sit down at minor league camp. We're like, great, you know what I mean? So it's tricky. You know what I mean? It's really tricky.
I'm excited for both of them. I can't wait to watch this tomorrow, because
let me tell you,
it's
a good problem to have. You know what I mean?
When they got Rodriguez from the Red Sox, and when I started reading up on him, I'm like, and then I saw him. I clocked into the minor league baseball feed one time when he was pitching still in Trenton. Jesus Christ, Somerset. There we go. I took it back about 15 years in my head for some reason, and saw him pitch in AA. I was like, the Red Sox traded this kid for Carlos Narvaez? What the hell were they thinking? I'm like, did these guys realize what they even had? Like, so I'm glad he's with us now, because I can't wait for him to make his debut.
Sometimes when people from the outside looking in, they wonder, like, how did this team trade this guy, right? I'm gonna give you a good example, like Volpe, right? At some point, they're gonna be like, okay, we can't watch this, what show no more, right? We're gonna trade him away for an A-ball pitcher, right? And then he's gonna go somewhere else, and he's gonna shine. And you guys be like, why in the heck did he didn't do that for us? You know what I mean? But it's just sometimes you get into a new location, new organization, you get a different lease on life. You get a fresh breath of air. You know what I mean? Whereas right now, Volpe is all he's doing. He's sucking on a Big Mac exhaust pipe every day. You know what I mean? For the people on him about how bad he's doing. From the pressure of the press and the fans and everything else. So like, he hasn't had a breath of fresh air in 2 years. Maybe call it. I don't know. Is it longer than that? Year and a half. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's why sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes maybe. Yeah, so
maybe even 3. Maybe, to be honest with you, probably even 3 years since the end of his rookie season.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least 2. I mean, 1.5 to 2 for sure. But you know what I mean. So, but it's like he is literally every day going to the park, every day going to every game, every at bat. He's literally on his hands and knees trying to climb a mountain. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like for him. Whereas you take this kid coming to Red Sox, he's like, all of a sudden, I got a new lease on life. Everything I've done. A good example is Cameron, right? Cameron was with the Cubs for 6.5 years. He went to the Pirates, and guess what? The Pirates didn't give 2 craps about what happened in the last 6.5 years. But every day he was in a Cubs organization, they'd always say, "Oh, wait, he does good until this, or he does this until that." You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So sometimes a new lease on life, a new organization just opens up. It lets the player become back to himself and not trying to prove something every time out that I can't really do this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if they traded him tomorrow, I would be like, okay, whatever, because you have options at the big league level to replace him with Cabrera and Caballero and even Jazz if you needed to. But they got George Lombard Jr. coming up the pipeline right behind him, and then Roderick Arias behind him. So it's not like It's not like it would be detrimental to the organization if they were to move on from him, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Right. But they're not going to trade him until Lombard's ready. When George Lombard Jr. is ready, that's when they're going to get rid of him. I promise you. Until then, because
I don't think they're going to get. I think that they're going to move. I think that my head says is that they'll do the dumbest thing and they will move Lombard Jr. to another position and leave Volpe
either second or third.
Yeah, probably because Jazz. Don't forget, Jazz is a free agent. I think they move Lombard Jr.
Well, McMahon's a free agent after 2027. Also,
yeah, but their best case scenario would probably be start Lombard at second base for a couple years, let him get comfortable in the big leagues without having the pressure of playing shortstop, and then after a couple years, move on from Volpe. But I mean, Volpe, he can't keep doing what he's doing now. I mean, he's got to step it up, or they got to. I mean, it's the Yankees, man. It's just too much pressure, you know what I mean, going on. And like I said, unless Cashman just got so much involved that he's like, I'm not letting this kid fail, so he's just going to keep going out and failing, but I'm going to let him keep failing until he figures it out.
Well, the organization has changed their mission statement, Scott. It's no longer World Series or bust. It's make the playoffs and be competitive.
Yeah.
There is no real pressure anymore to play in New York for the Yankees because they have lowered the bar. Hal Steinbrenner has lowered the bar of the organization.
But the problem is he has, but the fans haven't. You know what I mean? And so with the fans is still World Series or bust. So that's still the press is still World Series or bust. That's where the pressure comes from. The pressure doesn't always come from the team. You know what I mean? The team's actually the ones that's patting the guys on the back, says, "Hey man, you're going to be all right. Let's put yesterday behind us. Show up tomorrow. Let's get better tomorrow. You know, tomorrow." But it's the press and it's the fans that keeps the constant pressure and the pressure. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying though. In the front office, it's not. You know, it's not the boss's way like it used to be. You know what I mean? It's not George's way. It's now Hal's way, which is different. But the pressure's still on the guys because of the fans and the press.
Right. I hear you. You got anything else, Marky Mark?
No, I think we're good for. I think that should wrap it up for us tonight.
Yeah. So see you guys next week. We will be back on Monday. Because I will not be here Thursday because I have to work. So that's why we will be doing this again Monday. And have a good week, everybody. Like we said, games start tomorrow. Finally, grown men throwing baseballs. It's a beautiful thing. It's like Christmas. And next 7 months without baseball. So let's go. And thanks for listening. And for those that will be listening in the future, we thank you too. Like we said in the beginning, make sure you hit that like and subscribe on YouTube. And also check out the links in the show notes below for the MLB shop and our merch store. We appreciate you all. Have a good night.